Alright. We've got the KBS ratio. Ooh, quite a nice one too. Maybe the thing has actually worked. Um, and 500? Good lord. 500 KBS. Amazing. Maybe that did work a bit. You'll have to tell me. But yes. Okay, well, we'll wait for people to come in. This is... I'm not expecting so many people to arrive, actually. Ah, Honeybee, hello! Okay. Alright. We'll get some people in. I'm glad you could turn up. Oh. Yes, it's the... Hello! Hello, Ragloss. Why all the question marks? Hello. Yes, the memes today. Admittedly, one of the memes. This was all pre-prepared from many weeks ago. So, oh, it's buffering for you? Is it buffering for anybody else? Hello, Antonia. Oh, it's great to have Antonia in here. Of course, Antonia and Honeybee are tuning in together. So, is it buffering for anybody else? It shouldn't be. Um, my I don't have anything else on. Okay, cool. That's a good start. Might be you then, Ratgloss. I'm very sorry if it is. Oh, it did just go down to... Did just go down a little. And there's Des. Excellent. Hello. Good. It's very cozy Boxing Day event to sit together and listen to me be very oh, that's good. Okay. That's good. The we did get we got like a new a newish what's it called? Router. We got a new router recently. It's not supposed to like give us any particularly, it's just supposed to be like a slightly better connection, but it does seem to be above 500 sometimes, which it rarely ever is before. So maybe it will be better. Oh, I would actually like myself a yes. That would actually be very kind of you, yes. Ugh, I'm being weighted on hand and foot, sorry guys. Right. Ready? Coming back up? We'll wait on. And Raklos, I'm afraid, admittedly, I have not fully read through your arguments. I have read through them enough to believe that I was wrong. So whilst I do still intend to read all the way through them and address how wrong I was more solidly, I do probably concede. I do probably concede that you were that you were correct, but I will next time, next stream. I'm afraid the whole Christmas thing, along with my health, has thoroughly um, reduced the amount of pre-planning I was able to do for this stream. And I also wanted to ask what people wanted to do because um, considering this is a Boxing Day stream, I don't know if people would like me to read concerning hobbits up to the point where I got to. I mean, admittedly, I actually forgot that I needed to find out when that was. Nah. I've actually already made up my mind just now. We'll keep going. We'll keep going with the ride of the Rohirrim, and get through that. What else? Nope. That's all I can think of. That's all I can think of. Um, did I have a preamble thought? I feel like I've had so many Tolkien thoughts recently. Um, but none of them come to mind at present, which is usual. That seems usual. That seems regular. Um, oh, except unless we want to mention the show that shall not be named. I don't want to mention it. It's very funny though. I mean, the issue is that the thing I could talk about the show that must not be mentioned is very funny. So I do kind of want to talk about it. I do kind of want to talk about it. Um, but mm, but I don't know. I don't know is the thing. Yes. Well, yes, I was quite happy with the meme when I made it. I thought it was yes, yes. That Ragdoll. Oh, thank you so very much. He doesn't know what he wants to do. Come on, up again. No, he'll be alright. He'll wander about and then he'll figure out himself out. I just realised I'm having this up here without you. I totally didn't think about this through, but never mind. Okay. Oh, you want me to spare you? But Honeybee, the thing is, it's really funny. Is the thing. It's just very funny. Are you sure you don't want to know? It's very funny. Um, hello. Got a very curious nosed dog here. Um, but Des, it is though. It is. If you know what I mean, like. It is. It's not okay. It's not great. I disagree with everybody in the chat today. I do not agree that it's great. I do think it's hilarious. I do think it's hilarious if this is the way because it's just so it's they didn't have to do this. They didn't have to do it that way. And I suppose it is actually we still have yet to have anything confirmed. I won't. I'll hold my I'll contain myself for now, I suppose. Um I suppose and I mean, Des, you you were one to talk. You were the one who brought the last concept into my purview. It is entirely a speculation. The oh, fine. Listen. I'm so sorry. We are going to talk about it. So the speculation, yes. So the we'll talk about it. So there are two things that we have that are speculated on the hated fans of fans of the Fellowship of the Fans or whatever. Is that the one thing that they say that they know is that there is going to be a scene or something where where there is a character is is dropped into Middle Earth like a falling star, like a meteorite, and he'll land in Middle Earth as a meteorite and apparently be found by hobbits. Now, now. Like, and there's also a character that has been described as wise and worldly, but also naive. And it has memory loss or something. He's also naive and a little bit shy and scared. And with the hobbits and the whole thing, it's looking a lot like it's looking a lot like they're going to like one of the Valar fucking drop kicked Gandalf into Middle Earth in the second age. It's exactly like it's so funny. Like I feel like I just need to just come on the record. We know how Gandalf got to Middle Earth. Like we know. It's not like this big mystery. He came on a boat like everybody else does. They get on a boat and they sail there and then they get. But no, apparently, Gandalf in this situation is going to be, like shot put tossed over the Pilori Mountains, through over the sea, over the Ekaya Sea, and then land somewhere in the middle of nowhere next to some hobbits because because Gandalf needed, this is the important part. Gandalf needed he needed a backstory for why he likes hobbits, because it's not clear enough. Apparently, there needs to be a backstory for why Gandalf likes hobbits, despite the fact that a whole section of his character is specifically explaining why he likes hobbits so much, and that's a driving factor for his choices and motivations. But no, it's because he was thrown. He had amnesia. But Honeybee, whatever he is, I mean, this is the issue. I am not against. I'm all for Gandalf being thrown as far as possible. Yeah, this is the thing. We know somebody's arriving in a comet. Admittedly, I do like Honeybee's idea that it's Tom Bombadil. I'm very into that. I don't think that's it. I think for sure it has to be Gandalf. It could be Tom. That would be strange, and even more canon weird because Tom was supposed to have been here, since the dawn of time. But certainly, I would much prefer if it was Tom Bombadil. Would I? I just don't like Tom so much that I don't know if I want. Yeah, somebody has been yeeted. Somebody has been yeeted into the sky, and, and he has amnesia. Uh, and it really is just it's just so funny. And it just feels very it feels very indicative of what, like, of what the show is going to try and do. Well, okay, no, it might not. Yes, it might be Arrow. It's true. Arrow also might be doing some long shot practice. He needs to get limber for when he sinks a whole continent, but um, um, when has Valinor ever used any of their privileges properly? Never. It's never happened. Um, but yes, so so that's a thing that we might have. We also, yeah, listen, I'm not I it's distressing. I'm unhappy about it. Just to list off the things that I'm sure everybody in this chat knows, but just to have it on the record. Gandalf doesn't arrive in the um in Middle Earth until like the late third age. Um I'm very jealous of Antonia for being able to watch this happen. But yeah, Gandalf doesn't arrive. Now, admittedly, I'm not against Gandalf having been, like, this is very funny because the thing is that Lord of the Rings Online already did this. They gave Gandalf a part to play in um in the War of the Last Alliance. But the thing is that they is that number one, he wasn't Gandalf. He was a completely different person. He was a completely different creature, and he was in a different raiment. And he had a whole like they gave him backstory for why he's so afraid of the of Sauron and why he makes these kind of quite cautious decisions, which while I don't actually necessarily think needed to be explained, it certainly is a better thing to jump off of than why he likes hobbits. So in an incredibly funny situation, Lord of the Rings Online have yet again done something already much better than this show has, which is again very funny to me. But but so I'm not against Gandalf being um there before the third age, but I'm against this concept that he needs to that to have hobbits as characters in your show, you also are required to have Gandalf because hobbits are not going to be interesting enough on their own. Um, that's just very dumb. It's just very stupid. Um, and really shows how much faith they have in their character. Yeah, I don't want hobbits to have always been around Gandalf. Yeah, I don't want Legolas in the Hobbit. Well, I could have been okay with Legolas being in the Hobbit if he had been like there in Mirkwood and then been like I don't care and then then passed off. But the fact that he was just there so much, I don't know about that either. Because I do think people would watch a show that doesn't have hobbits in them. I do think they would. Um, but yeah, this is the issue. It's just this kind of consistent nostalgia plucking, string plucking, and it's just so depressing. Mm. Well, that is true. I suppose you are correct. I do know I do know a couple of people who were like, I'm not watching it because there are no hobbits in it, and then were sorely disappointed by the apparition of hobbits. But so I suppose you are right. But yeah, I mean it's depressing. That's true, and that's why they're bringing it. That's why they're bringing it to the Shire early as well, isn't it? Yeah, they have to include the Shire so that um yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yep. We've explained the whole situation. We know what they're doing. This is all very transparent of them. Um yeah. They are migrating, yes, but I do think that they're going to be I think that the migration is going to end in the Shire. Um I think because of stuff that I've heard. They are supposed to be nomadic, it's true. They are supposed to be nomadic beforehand. But yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for breaking my silence on this issue. But it was just too funny. It really is just too funny. I the new rule is I don't mention the show unless number one we have something concrete or number two the non-concrete thing is very funny. Then I get to talk about it. Uh, I hope everybody's Christmas was nice. Again, I hope everybody's Christmas was very nice. I'm sorry for taking 19 minutes to get there, but I hope everybody's Christmas was very nice. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. Um, I'm going to eat a few more mouthfuls of this, and then we'll get to reading. Love it when honeybee's typing. My favorite thing. Maybe it. Oh, I see. Maybe it's Jesus. Yeah, I see why honeybee's typing. Wow. Unexpected. Unexpected. Peace and love in my stream chat tonight. Unexpected. Now, Raglos, don't be mean to her. She's trying so hard. She's trying so hard. Um, you can't do this to her. Right. I think we've got all we're gonna get. We'll switch on over to the stream. I'm very happy you're having such a good time, Antonia. Switching over to the stream. And yes, no, that does sound quite blasphemous. Well, Tolkien at one point was asked about whether or not Frodo was supposed to be Jesus or an allegory for Jesus or whatever, and he ummed and ahed about it on in this radio play that radio interview bleh, that I was listening to, and in the end he ummed and ahed himself into declaring that no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Frodo is not Jesus, and he's not supposed to be an allegory for Jesus. He gets why people think that, but he's not supposed to be that. Is what Tolkien said himself. He got you to. Let's read the book that we're here for. Because we were with Mary and Eowyn. What could be more Christmassy than that? Right. The Ride of the Rohirrim. It was dark, and Mary could see nothing as he lay on the ground, rolled in a blanket. Yet, though the night was airless and windless, all about him hidden trees were sighing softly. He lifted his head. Then he heard it again, a sound like faint drums in the wooded hills and mountain steps. The throb would cease suddenly, and then be taken up again in some other point, now nearer, or now further off. He wondered if the watchmen had heard it. He could not see them, but he knew that all around him were the companies of the Rohirrim. He could smell the horses in the dark, and could hear their shiftings and their soft stamping in the needle-covered ground. The host was bivouacking in the pine woods that clustered about Eilenach Beacon. I had it right first time. A tall hill standing up from the long ridges of the Druidan forest that lay beside the great road in eastern Orien. Tired as he was, Merry could not sleep. He had ridden now for 4 days on end, and the ever-deepening gloom had suddenly weighed down his heart. He began to wonder why he had been so eager to come, when he had been given every excuse, even his lord's command, to stay behind. He wondered too if the old king knew that he had been disobeyed and was angry. Perhaps not. There seemed to be some understanding between Dernhelm and Elfhelm, the marshal who commanded the Ered in which they were riding. He and all his men ignored Merry and pretended not to hear if he spoke. He might have been just another bag that Dernhelm was carrying. Dernhelm was no comfort. He never spoke to anyone. Merry felt small, unwanted and lonely. Now the time was anxious, and the host was in peril. They were less than a day's ride from the outwalls of Minas Tirith that encircled the townlands. Scouts had been sent ahead. Some had not returned. Others, hastening back, had reported that the road was held in force against them. A host of the enemy was encamped upon it, 3 miles west of Amondine, and some strength of men was already thrusting along the road, and was no more than 3 leagues away. The orcs were roving in the hills and woods along the roadside. Sorry. The king and Eomer held council in the watches of the night. Merry wanted somebody to talk to, and he thought of Pippin, but that only increased his restlessness. Poor Pippin, shut up in the great city of stone, lonely and afraid. Merry wished he was a tall rider like Eomer, and could blow a horn or something and go galloping to his rescue. He sat up, listening to the drums that were beating again, now nearer at hand. Presently he heard voices speaking low, and he saw dim, half-shrouded lanterns passing through the trees. Men nearby began to move uncertainly in the dark. A tall figure loomed up and stumbled over him, cursing the tree roots. He recognized the voices, the marshal, Elfhelm. "I'm no tree root, sir," he said, "nor a bag, but a bruised hobbit. The least you can do in amends is to tell me what is afoot." "Anything that can keep so in this devil's murk," answered Elfhelm. Wait, hang on. What is that? The least you can do in amends is to tell me what is afoot. Oh, I see. Anything that can keep so in this devil's murk. Oh. That's actually quite funny. Uh, but my lord sends word that we must set ourselves in readiness. Orders may come for a sudden move. Is the enemy coming, then? Asked Mary anxiously. Are those their drums? I began to think I was imagining them, as no one else seemed to take notice of them. Nay, nay, said Elfhelm. The enemy is on the road, not in the hills. You hear the Woses, the wild men of the woods. Thus they talk together from afar. They still haunt the Druadan forest, it is said. Remnants of an older time they be, living few and secretly, wild and wary as beasts. They go not to war with Gondor or the Mark. But now they are troubled by the darkness and the coming of the orcs. They fear lest the dark years be returning, as seems likely enough. Let us be thankful that they are not hunting us, for they use poison arrows, it is said, and they are woodcrafty beyond compare. But they have offered their services to Theoden. Even now one of their headmen is being taken to the king. Yonder go the lights. So much I have heard, but no more, and now I must busy myself with my lord's commands. Pack yourself up, Master Bag. He vanished into the shadows. Master Bag. The wonderful. I like Elfhelm. I'm very attached to my concept that he's Elfhild's brother. Which would make Eowyn his adopted niece? Yes, sort of. Something along those lines. Complicated. Gotta pack himself up. Mary did not like this talk of wild men and poisoned darts, but quite apart from that great weight of dread, I wish Tolkien would use commas. I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna come out with it. This is me. My hot take. I wish he'd use commas any time, any time at all, really. Yeah, don't we all wish we fucking saw anything of the Woses in the films? Another thing that Lord of the Rings Online does better. Sorry, I will. Mary did not like this talk of wild men and poisoned darts, but quite apart from that, a great weight of dread was on him. Waiting was unbearable. He longed to know what was going to happen. He got up, and soon was walking warily in pursuit of the last lantern before it disappeared along the trees. Presently he came to an open space, where a small tent had been set up for the king under the great tree. A large lantern, covered above, was hanging from a bough, and cast a pale circle of light below. There sat Theoden and Eomer, and before them on the ground sat a strange squat shape of a man, gnarled as an old stone, and the hairs of his scanty beard straggled on his lumpy chin like dry moss. He was short-legged and fat-armed, thick and stumpy, and clad only with grass about his waist. Merry felt that he had seen him before somewhere, and suddenly he remembered the Pookel men of Dunharrow. Here was one of those old images brought to life, or maybe a creature descended in true line through endless years from the models used by the forgotten craftsmen long ago. There was a silence as Mary crept closer, and then the wild man began to speak, in answer to some question, it seemed. His voice was deep and guttural, yet to Mary's surprise he spoke the common speech, though in a halting fashion, and uncouth words were mingled with it. Oh, I hadn't even thought about a voice for Gamburigan. I also, admittedly, maybe I'm not unhappy that we couldn't see the Wozes in the films because can you fucking imagine what Peter Jackson would have done with this already incredibly racist depiction of indigenous? Like, there's the grass skirt and everything. Like, Jesus. Tolkien does the two racisms at the same time. He's like both are both are brown people bad evil, or they are mystical medicine men of the wilds, and they know old things but are still not high or civilized or whatever. Amazing. Love it. Oh, how do I voice Gambarigan? How do I do this? Um, No, Father Horseman, he said, we fight not, hunt only, kill Gorgoon in the woods, hate orc folk. You hate Gorgoon too. We help as we can. Wild men have long ears and long eyes, know all paths. Wild men live here before stone houses, before tall men come up out of water. But our need is for aid in battle, said Aemir. How will you and your folk help us? Bring news, said the wild man. We look out from hills. We climb big mountain and look down. Stone city is shut. Fire burns there outside. Now, inside too. You wish to come there? Then you must be quick. But Gorgon and men out of far way, he waved a short gnarled hand eastward, sit on Horse Road. Very many. More than horsemen. Well, how do you know that? Said Aemir. The old man's flat face and dark eyes showed nothing, but his voice was sullen with displeasure. Wild men are wild, free, but not children, he answered. I am great headman, Ganburigan. I count many things, stars in sky, leaves on trees, men in the dark. You have a score of scores, counted 10 times in 5. They have more. Big fight, and who will win? And many more folk round walls of tall stone houses. Alas, he speaks all too shrewdly, said Theoden, and our scouts say that they have cast trenches and stakes across the road. We cannot sweep them away in sudden onset. And yet we need great haste, said Aemir. Mundburg is on fire. Let Ganburigan finish, said the wild man. More than one road he knows. He will lead you by road that where no pits are, no Gorgon walk, only wild men and beasts. Many paths were made when Stonehouse folk were stronger. They carved hills as hunters carve beast flesh. Wild men think they ate stone for food. They went through Druadan to Rimmon with great wains. They go no longer. Road is forgotten, but not by wild men. Over hill and behind hill it lies, still under grass and tree, there behind Rimmon, and down to Dean, and back to the end, and back at the end to Horsemen's Road. Wild men still show you that road, when you will kill Gorgon and drive away bad dark with bright iron, and wild men can go back to sleep in the wild woods. Eomer and the king spoke together in their own language. Ah! Mm-hmm. Ha! Huh. Oh! Hmm. Interesting. Sorry, we have to stop because that was just, huh. There's a thing which says, I can't remember if it's in the appendices or if it's in the unfinished tales, but there's something. It's the unfinished tales. I know it's the unfinished tales. In the Unfinished Tales, it says that Theoden can't speak Rohirric. It's like a thing where he only speaks Sindarin, he doesn't speak Rohirric, and like him and his people just don't speak it. But no, of course they have to because Aemir and Theoden are literally talking in Rohirric to each other now. This has annoyed me for many a moon. And I have to just bask in it a second. Before I get into again just quite how patronizing Ganbury Khan's thing is. How am I? How I have to speak in this broken this broken English, which makes no sense for him to like what. Uh, um. Yeah. I think Gunbury Gun was in fact Tolkien because we were talking about this before me and Des about how Tolkien as he wrote the book was trying to and this is in big quotation marks write things um uh that he feels he might have done badly. But again, he hasn't gotten there yet. He's just switched from one to another. He's just like, oh, well, if I'm not outwardly racist against brown people, I'll pretend like I respect their ancient noble ways of being so uncivilized. um, mm, anyway, at length, Theoden turned to the Wild Man. Wild Man is capitalized as well, like it's a name, like he's the Wild Man. Yes, I did like the bit where he was like, "Let me finish. Stop talking. You're all so dumb." And I love that energy for him. And I did like the energy of him being like, "Hey, I'm not actually a child. I do actually know shit. You need to stop talking to me like that." But it's not enough. It's not enough, John. It's not enough. You needed to actually. Anyway, I like that. We will receive your offer, he said. Although we leave a host of foes behind, what matter? If the stone city falls, then we shall have no returning. If it is saved, then the orc host itself will be cut off. If you are faithful, Gan Burigan, then we will give you rich reward, and you shall have the friendship of the mark forever. Dead men are not friends to living men, and give them no gifts, said the wild man. But if you live after the darkness, then leave wild men alone in the woods, and do not hunt them like beasts any more. God, Ganburigan will not lead you into trap. He will go himself with father of horsemen, and if he leads you wrong, then you will kill him. So be it, said Theoden. Oof. Yikes. Mmm. Big, big woof. Um, wow. They're forced to always. Yes, yes, absolutely. It's the way they're forced. The way Gambarigan, despite having just told us that he literally like are we not gonna address that? They were hunting them. They were hunting them. We're just gonna pass over it, talking. We're just gonna pass over that small fact. And like it's nothing. Okay. And then Gambarigan is like, well, but if I lead you wrong, then you can kill me. Um, what? Okay. So be it, said Theoden. How long will it take to pass by the enemy and come back to the road? Asked Aemir. We must go at foot pace if you guide us, and I doubt not the way is narrow. Wild men go on quick feet, said Garn. Oh, that's a nice shortening of his name. Way is wide for 4 horses in Stone Wain Valley yonder. He waved his hand southwards. But narrow at beginning and at end. Wild man could walk from here to Din between sunrise and noon. Then we must allow at least 7 hours for the leaders, said Eomer, but we must reckon rather on some 10 hours for all. Things unforeseen may hinder us, and if our host is all strung out, it will be long ere it can be set in order when we issue from the hills. What is the hour now? Who knows, said Theoden. All is night now. It is all dark, but it is not all night, said Garn. When sun comes we feel her, even when she is hidden. Already she climbs over east mountains. It is the opening of the day in the sky fields. Yes, maybe even just sorry, I'm answering Raglar's. Maybe even a moment of awkwardness. Like anything. or or Theoden, like an answer. Not even from maybe or even from Theoden. Yes, everyone knows the sun is a lady. It's everyone knows. Then we must set out as soon as may be, said Eomer. Even so, we cannot hope to come to Gondor's aid today. Merry waited to hear no more. He slipped away to get ready for the summons to the march. This was the last stage before the battle. It did not seem likely to him that many of them would survive it, but he thought of Pippin and the flames in Minas Tirith and thrust down his own dread. All went well that day, and no sight or sound had they of the enemy waiting to waylay them. The wild men had put out a screen of wary hunters, so that no orc or roving spy should learn of the movements in the hills. The light was more dim than ever as they drew nearer to the beleaguered city, and the riders passed in long files like dark shadows of men and horses. Each company was guided by a wild woodman, and old Garn walked beside the king. The start had been slower than was hoped, for it had taken some time for the riders walking and leading their horses to find paths over the thickly wooded ridges behind their camp and down into the hidden Stone Wain Valley. It was late in the afternoon when the leaders came to the wide grey thickets stretching beyond the eastward side of Amondine and masking a great gap in the line of hills that from Nardol to Dean ran east and west. Through the gap, the foreign Wain road, long ago had run down back into the main horseway from the city through Anorian. But now, for many lives of men, trees had had their way with it, and it had vanished, broken and buried under the leaves of uncounted years. But the thickets offered to the riders their last hope of cover before they went into open battle, for beyond them lay the road and the plains of Anduin, while east and southwards the slopes were bare and rocky as the writhen hills gathered themselves together and climbed up, bastion upon bastion, into the great mass and shoulders of Mindoluin. The leading company was halted, and as those behind filed up out of the trough in the Stone Wain Valley, they spread out and passed to camping places under the grey trees. The king summoned the captains to council. Eomer set out scouts to spy upon the road, but old Gans shook his head. No good, send horsemen, he said. Many wild men have already seen all that can be seen in bad air. They will come soon and speak to me here. The captains came, and then out of the trees crept warily other puckle shapes that so like old Garn that Merry could hardly tell them apart. I'm just staring at the screen. They spoke to Garn in a strange, throaty language. Presently Garn turned to the king. Wild men say many things, he said. First, be wary. Still many men in camp beyond Dean, an hour's walk yonder, he waved his arm west towards the black beacon, but none to see between here and the stone folks' new walls. Many busy there, walls stand up no longer. Gorgun knock them down with earth thunder and with clubs of black iron. They are unwary and do not look about them. They think their friends watch all roads. At that, old Gan made a curious gurgling noise, and it seemed that he was laughing. Oh, God. Good tidings, cried Eomer. Even in this gloom, hope gleams again. Our enemy's devices oft serve us in his despite. The accursed darkness itself has been a cloak to us, and now, lusting to destroy Gondor and throw it down stone from stone, his orcs have taken away my greatest fear. The outwall could have been held long against us. Now we can sweep through, if once we win so far. Once again I thank you, Ganburigan of the woods, said Theoden. Good fortune go with you, and for your tidings and for guidance. Kill Gorgon, kill orc folk. No other words, please, wild men, answered Gan. Drive away bad air and darkness with bright iron. To do these things we have ridden far, said the king, and we shall attempt them. But we shall achieve only tomorrow will. But what we shall achieve tomorrow. But what we shall achieve only tomorrow will show. Garan squatted down and touched the earth with his horny brow in token of farewell. Then he got up, as if to depart. But suddenly he stood looking up like a startled woodland animal, snuffling the strange air. A light came in his eyes. Wind is changing, he cried, and with that, in a twinkling, as it seemed, he and his fellows had vanished into the glooms, never to be seen by any rider of Rohan again. Not long after, far away eastward, the faint drums throbbed again, yet no heart in all of the host came any fear that the wild men were unfaithful, strange and unlovely though they might appear. This is grueling. Oh, we have a new first timer in the chat. Hello. Yeah. That was grueling to read. That was it. Then again, when are we ever not angry at talking scholars? Always it's so much. Anyway, we could like an animal. Like he really did. He did. It's just like fully said it. He. Strange and unlovely though they might appear, it's just so not debatable. It's like the one time it's like, oh no, these are good brown people, and this is what we get. It's this. It's this. We do. We do. We have the whole. That's true. Actually, we still. Okay. Actually, wait. Where are we? How many pages is this chapter? Exactly. It's like, oh no. Oh, okay. We've still got. Okay. Yeah. I thought we were back with Gondor, the next chapter, but no. No. No, we've got a while before we get to chapter 7, which Death knows about. We need no further guidance, said Elfhelm, who is northern apparently now. For there are riders in the host who have not ridden down to Munburg in days of peace. I, for one. When we come to the road, it will veer south, and there will lie before us still 7 leagues. Still 7 leagues ere we reach the wall of the townlands. Along most of that way, there is much grass on either side of the road. On that stretch, the errand riders of Gondor reckoned to make their greatest speed. We may ride it swiftly and without great rumour. Oh, I like this. I like this. Elfhelm has ridden down to has ridden down to. I wonder how and why. Interesting. I want to know now. Why would? Oh, I mean, many reasons I imagine, but I like that. Uh, we may ride swiftly and without great rumour. Then, since we must look for fell deeds and the need of all our strength, said Emir, I counsel that we rest now, and set out hence by night, and so time our going that we come upon the fields when tomorrow is as light as it can be, or when our lord gives the signal. To this the king assented, and the captains departed, but soon Elfhelm returned. The scouts have found naught to report beyond the grey woods, lord, he said, save 2 men only, 2 dead men, and 2 dead horses. Well, said Emir, what of it? This, lord, they were errand riders of Gondor. Jurgen was one, maybe. At least his hand still clasped the red arrow, but his head was hewn off. Oh no, and this also, it would seem by the signs, that they were fleeing westward when they fell. As I read it, they found the enemy already on the outwall or assailing it when they returned, and that would be 2 nights ago. If they used fresh horses from the post, as is their wont, they could not reach the city and turn back. Alas, said Theoden, and Denethor has heard no news of our riding, and will despair of our coming. Need brooks no delay, yet late is better than never, said Eomer, and mayhap in this time shall the old saw be proved truer than ever before since men spoke with mouth. It was night. On either side of the road the host of Rohan was moving silently. Now the road passing about the skirts of Mindoluin turned southward. Far away and almost straight ahead there was a red glow under the black sky, and the sides of the great mountain loomed dark against it. They were drawing ever near the Ramas of Pelennor, but the day was not yet come. He heard you, don't worry. He heard you. It's fine. He knows you're coming. It's okay. You're all you all ride so loud he could have shot you in the dark, etc., and so on. Um, but the day was not yet come. The king rode in the midst of the leading company, his household men about him. Elfhelm's Ered came next, and now Merry noticed that Durnhelm had left his place, and in the darkness was moving steadily forward, until at last he was riding just in the rear of the king's guard. There came a check. Merry heard voices in front speaking softly. Outriders had come back, who had ventured forth almost to the wall, and they came to the king. There are great fires, lord, he said. One said, the city is all set about with flame, and the field is full of foes, but all seem drawn off to the assault. As well as could be guessed, there are few left upon the outwall, and they are heedless, busy in destruction. Do you remember the wild man's words, lord? Said another. I live upon the open wold in days of peace. Widfara is my name, and to me also the air brings messages. Already the wind is turning. There comes a breath out of the south. There is a sea tang in it, faint though it be. The morning will bring new things. Above the reek it will be dawn when you pass the wall. You speak truly, Widfara. Then you may live beyond this day in years. Then may you live beyond this day in years of blessedness, said Theoden. He turned to the men of his household who were near, and he spoke now in a clear voice, so that many also of the riders in the first Ered heard him. Now is the hour come, riders of the mark, sons of Eol, foes and fire are upon you, and your homes far behind. Yet though you fight upon an alien field, the glory that you reap shall be your own forever. Oaths ye have taken, now fulfill them all, to lord and land and league of friendship. Men clashed spear upon shield. Eomer, my son, you lead the first Ered, said Theoden, and it shall go behind the king's banner in the centre. Elfhelm, lead your company to the right when we pass the wall, and Grimbold shall lead his forward the left. Let the other companies behind follow these 3 that lead, as they have chance. Strike wherever the enemy gathers. Other plans we cannot make, for we know not yet how things stand upon the field. Forth now, and fear no darkness. The leading company rode off as swiftly as they could, for it was still deep dark, whatever change would Farah might forebode. Merry was riding behind Dernhelm, clutching with the left hand, while with the other he tried to loosen his sword in his sheath. He felt now bitterly the truth of the old king's words. In such a battle, what would you do, Meriadoc? Just this, he thought, encumber a rider and hope at best to stay in my seat and not be pounded to death by galloping hooves. Oh, oh, this poor little man, this poor little man, he's trying his best. Exactly. Where was the wall? Where was the Rammus? How could he? How could he take away the Rammus from me? And the whole point, like, uh, my beloved Rammus. It was no more than a league to where the outwalls had stood. They soon reached them, too soon for Merry. Wild cries broke out, and there was some clash of arms, but it was brief. The orcs busy about the walls were few and amazed, and they were quickly slain or driven off. Before the ruin of the north gate in the Rammus, the king halted again. The first Eored drew up behind him, and about him on either side. Dernhelm kept close to the king, though Elfhelm's company was away on the right. Grimbald's men turned aside and passed round to a great gap in the wall further eastward. Blah, blah. Merry peered from behind Dernhelm's back. Far away, maybe 10 miles or more, there was a great burning, but between it and the riders lines of fire blazed in a vast crescent, at the nearest point less than a league distant. He could make out little more on the dark plain, and as yet he neither saw any hope of morning, nor felt any wind, changed or unchanged. Now silently the host of Rohan moved forward into the field of Gondor, pouring in slowly but steadily, like the rising tide through breaches in a dike that men had thought secure. But the mind and will of the Black Captain were bent wholly on the falling city, and as yet no tidings came to him warning that his designs held any flaw. After a while the king led his men away somewhat eastward, to come between the fires of the siege and the outer fields. Still they were unchallenged, and still Theoden gave no signal. At last he halted once again. The city was now nearer, a smell of burning was in the air, and a very shadow of death. The horses were uneasy. But the king sat upon Snowmane, motionless, gazing upon the agony of Minas Tirith as if stricken suddenly by anguish or by dread. He seemed to shrink down, cowed by age. Merry himself felt as if a great weight of horror and doubt had settled upon him. His heartbeat slowed. Time seemed poised in uncertainty. They were too late. Too late was worse than never. Perhaps Theoden would quail, bow his old head, turn, slink away to hide in the hills. Then suddenly Merry felt at last, beyond doubt, a change. Wind was in his face. Light was glimmering. Far, far away in the south, the clouds could be dimly seen as remote grey shapes rolling up, drifting. Morning lay beyond them. But at that same moment there was a flash, as if lightning had sprung from the earth behind the city. For a searing second it stood dazzlingly far off, in black and white, its topmost tower like a glittering needle, and then, as the darkness closed again, there came rolling over the fields a great boom. At that sound the bent shape of the king sprang suddenly erect. Tall and proud he seemed again, and rising in his stirrups he cried in a loud voice, more clear than any there had ever heard in a mortal man achieve before. Arise, arise, riders of Theoden! Fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter! Spear shall be shaken, shields shall be splintered, a sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride to Gondor. With that he seized a great horn upon Guthlaf, his banner-bearer, and he blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder. Jesus! And straightway all the horns in the host were lifted up in music, and the blowing of the horns of Rohan in that hour was like a storm upon the plain and a thunder in the mountains. Ride now, ride to Gondor." Suddenly the king cried to Snowmane, and the horse sprang away. Behind him his banner blew in the wind, white horse upon a field of green. Bleh. But he outpaced it. After him thundered the knights of his house, but he was ever before them. Eomer rode there, the white horse tail on his helm blowing, floating in his speed, and the front of his first Ered roared like a breaker foaming to the shore. But Theoden could not be overtaken. They, he seemed, all the battle furious of his fathers, ran like new fire in his veins, and he was borne up upon Snowmane like a god of old, even as Orome the Great in the battle of the Valar when the world was young. His golden shield was uncovered, and lo, it shone like an image of the sun, and the grass framed into green about the white feet of his steed. For morning came, morning and a wind from the sea, and darkness was removed, and the hosts of Mordor wailed, and terror took them, and they fled and died, and the hooves of wrath rode over them. And then all the host of Rohan burst into song, and they sang as they slew, for the joy of battle was on them, and the sound of their singing was that was fair and terrible, even came to the city. Well, that was I forgot that he blew on he blew on a horn so hard that it shattered. That must have been very dangerous. That must have been very dangerous. I hope Guthlaf avoided the shrapnel from what I can only imagine was actually quite a dangerous situation. This is interesting. I'd forgotten about this. Um, the fact that Theoden seems to have been possessed. he gets he gets like a Super Saiyan kind of vibe. like he's over 9,000 kind of situation. Um, this old man has still got it. This old man. I mean, so the point about it is that he is well, no, but it says well, no, because Boromir wasn't split into Boromir was split in two by an orc. It wasn't he didn't blow it apart. What does it say? What does it say? Hang on. Yeah, it says and he blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder, which doesn't really I would say isn't is it does not mean like splits in two. But no, but burst asunder. No, no, because burst is not a crack. It's a blowing apart. It's a shattering. I would say. We're gonna Are we gonna fight again? It's Christmas. It's Christmas. And I would also say that no, I mean battle songs. I would no, it doesn't say cracked. It says, and he blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder. There is no cracked. There is no description of a crack. It burst asunder. it it. I mean, technically, I don't either, but you, I can't appeal to my our ways do not have any bearing on Raggos. They are they are thoroughly uncontainable. We'll have to agree to disagree. I don't think it cracked. I think it exploded. Maybe it's a middle ground between exploded and but anyway. Um as for songs, like I think I agree with Antonio. I think that the whole point about battle is that it's a terrible thing you don't want to be in, and and like if you have if you the only way to really get yourself into battle with any kind of like focus is to do this, like to hype yourself up. Like you have to be, and if the hyping yourself up gets to a point where you are in this kind of adrenaline rushed moment of like ferocious feeling that you're going to win and you're not going to die, and you're going to kill the enemy that is at this moment uh 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 like going to kill all of you. I would say I have no problem with people singing with joy at killing their enemies, admittedly. Well, this is, I mean, that's the thing, because asunder to me means shattered to bits. If you and especially if it has burst asunder. Like again, if it broke asunder, I would think it came into two halves, but it burst asunder, which which has a very specific connotation to me, which is, but yes, asunder does mean both. No, because again, you are still in the midst of a battle. You still don't want to be there. And listen, listen. I'm sorry. I would find great joy in fight in because the thing is that it's not joy. I mean, it is joy that they're killing them, but the joy in killing them is we're going to win this battle. We're going to win this battle, and we're not going to die, and or we might not die. The feeling that you aren't going to die and you're going to keep killing your enemy, and then eventually you'll that will end. Yes, this is the other thing. I've totally forgot to totally forgot to say this as well. That's you're kind of also that's Tolkien's opinion. You're enabling Tolkien's opinion of the Rohirrim. I'm sorry, Honeybee. You're enabling Tolkien's opinion. You're enabling Tolkien's opinion, his gradation of men, his high men who are great and all Catholic, and then his middle men who aren't Catholic but they're righteous, and then the dark men who aren't Catholic and aren't righteous and are killing everybody. Yeah, they have the belt. Yes, they have the whole battle of rage and bloodlust thing. But the I think the Gondorians. I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. I have to. I'm calling you out. I'm so sorry. I am calling you out though. No, I'm sorry. It has to be done. Yeah, it's a yeah. It has to be done, honeybee. I'm so sorry. You are like you are like Tolkien. you are you are like I'm glad Antonia is there to comfort you in this hour that must be very very hard for you. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the I've been that's my that's what I've heard when I've read or listened to like ancient medieval war tacticians talking about this kind of thing. That's what they talked about is this concept of well, no, no. I mean, honeybee means the joy part, the joy part of it. They're taking joy in the fighting. They're taking joy in the fighting. I'm glad Antonia stopped what I paused in what I assume is their actual argument. Well, I am a whole country away. No, honeybee, come back. Come back. No. We still forgive you. We will still accept you. We'll still love you. It's fine. You can learn. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We'll get back to reading. I do understand. I understand. Oh, well. I'm gonna get back to reading before I say anything else. Yes, the Men of Darkness are polygamous. Yes, um, I've read that too. Anyway, we're on to chapter 6, which is amazing. That was a whole chapter we read. Um, yeah. well, well, it's we've all done it. We've all done it every now and then. I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, I can't remember doing it myself, but I'm sure I've done it. Hurry up! Oh, no. Ravi wants me to go downstairs. He's looking at me with these eyes that say, "Could you come downstairs for a bit?" Uh, right. Let's get to the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Which is also it's a fine chapter that is not the chapter before the bad chapter. Okay. But it was no orc chieftain or brigand that led the assault upon Gondor. The darkness was breaking too soon. Before the date that his master had set for it, fortune had betrayed him for the moment, and the world had turned against him. Victory was slipping from his grasp even as he stretched out his hand to seize it, but his arm was long. He was still in command, wielding great powers. King Ringwraith, lord of the Nazgul, he had many weapons. He left the gate and vanished. Theoden, king of the Mark, had reached the road from the gate to the river, and he turned towards the city that was now less than a mile distant. He slackened his speed a little, seeking new foes, and his knights came about him, and Durnhelm was with them. Ahead, nearer the walls, Elfhelm's men were among the siege engines, hewing, slaying, driving their foes into the fire pits. Well nigh all the northern half of the Pelennor was overrun, and their camps were blazing. Orcs were flying towards the river like herds before the hunters, and the Rohirrim went hither and thither at their will. But they had not yet overthrown the siege, nor won the gate. Many foes stood before it, and on the further half of the plain were other hosts still on foot. Southward beyond the road lay the main force of the Haradrim, and there their horsemen were gathered about the standard of their chieftain. And he looked out, and in the growing light he saw the banner of the king, and that it was far ahead of the battle, with few men about it. Then he was filled with a red wrath, and shouted aloud, and displaying his standard, black serpent upon scarlet, he came against the white horse and the green with a great press of men, and the drawing of the scimitars of the Southrons was like a glitter of stars. Which is such an interesting it's such an interesting image to give, to offer with for the Haradrim. Like that's one of the only descriptions we get of the Haradrim. Um and it's very strange to compare it to compare them to a glitter of stars. Um but I'm not complaining. It's a very powerful image. I like the image very much. I also like the tiniest, like the minutest amount, the tiniest amount of characterization we got for the unnamed Haradrim captain slash leader, who I don't actually think I can't remember if Tolkien actually named him Suladan um on if he named him Suladan or if that was Emmy the Merp named him Suladan. I can't remember. But either way, it's wait you can't do that. You can't call him that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Name is from a game. But that is just so that's just so much for them to name him like the like let's change one letter out of this name. Um anyway. Uh yes, I know. They did have to reference him in Mordor. I don't know if they got the rights to that. Anyway, Then Theoden was aware of him, and would not wait for his onset, but crying to Snowmane, he charged headlong to greet him. Great was the clash of their meeting, but the white fury of the Northmen burned hotter, and more skilled was their knighthood with long spears, and bitter. Fewer were they, but they clove through the Southrons like a firebolt in a forest. Right through the press drove Theoden, Thengil's son, and his spear was shivered as he threw down their chieftain. Once outswept his sword, and he spurred to the standard, hewed staff and bearer, and the black serpent floundered. Then all that was left unslain of their cavalry turned and fled far away. But lo, suddenly in the midst of the glory of the king, his golden shield was dimmed. The new morning was blotted from the sky. Dark fell about him. Horses reared and screamed. Men cast from the saddle lay grovelling on the ground. To me, cried Theoden. Up, Eolingas, fear no darkness. But Snowmane, wild with terror, stood up on high, fighting with the air, and then with a great scream he crashed upon his side. A black dart had pierced him. The king fell beneath him. The great shadow descended like a falling cloud, and behold, it was a winged creature, if bird, then greater than all other birds, and it was naked, and neither quill nor feather did it bear, and its vast pinions were as webs of hide between horned fingers, and it stank. A creature of an older world, maybe it was, whose kind, lingering in forgotten mountains, cold beneath the moon, outstayed their day, and in hideous eyrie bred this last untimely brood, apt to evil. Yes, I like this idea that Tolkien has that like sometimes if species live past their decreed time, they're evil now. Like if yes, dinosaurs basically. Like this is a dinosaur. We should have more. We should have more the ring wraiths ride pterodactyls. We should have more ring wraiths ride pterodactyls. Actually, wait, hang on. Let me reread this again. Let me reread this again. It was a winged creature, if bird, then greater than all other birds. It was naked, neither quill nor feather did it bear. Vast pinions were as webs of hide between horned fingers. I love this. I love this. How have we been doing it so wrong for so long? How have we been doing this so wrong for so long? They're pterosaurs. I'm. This is amazing. Wait, no, no, but wait. This brings up. So dinosaurs were real. Wait, there were dinosaurs in Middle Earth. Middle Earth had dinosaurs. Wait, hang on. But when? So this was the this was the time of the lamps. The lamps had times of the lamps had dinosaurs, and then Morgoth's destruction of it was like the meteorite. Like oh my god. Yeah, Morgoth. No, but yeah, like so it was the no, but apparently he was because because but I mean no, because yeah, he didn't make dinosaurs. He didn't it was that was Yavanna. Yavanna made dinosaurs because she makes all the animals, which is so funny to me. I'm so glad that Antonia's so happy. Oh right. Oh. Oh. I thought you were joking. I thought you were joking. I thought you were joking, but he really did fall down and destroyed. No, I think no. Orome hunts animals, but I don't think he makes them. Orome is he likes animals, but he doesn't make them. Yavanna is the one who makes animals and Stop, Des, stop taking this away from Antonia. You have to just accept it. That listen. This was we already know that Eru is lying whenever he says like when he's like fucking um he would it's true but when he's like when when lost my thought. I've lost my thought entirely. Sorry, yes, when 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 Eru says I made all of this, everything you make is what I designed you to make, and everything that you do is things I designed you to do. He's lying. He's lying. He doesn't actually he doesn't he that's not true. He's making it all up as he goes along. And um and so when Yavanna made was young, you know, like a toddler god, like a toddler god. Oh, okay, yes, Manwë. All right, Manwë's the bird person. So Manwë and Orome, I guess. All right, Manwë and Orome got together as like toddler boys. I no, I'm no, I'm saying no. Of course, I'm not. Again. I'm removing. It's Manwë and Orome as toddler boys. What kind of animals would they make? It would be dinosaurs. It would be toddler gods would make dinosaurs. And I wish they still were those gods. They sound chill to me. Um, and they made dinosaurs. No, canonically in Lord of the Rings Middle Earth, the only people who have souls are the only creatures that have souls are the children of Eru. The only ones that have souls. Yeah, they just wanted to make cool epic beasts. Yeah. Well, the thing is that originally, when the lamps were the way in which they lit everything, the world was supposed to be way different during the lamp age. So and then it was like almost wholly destroyed. Like there were like mountain ranges destroyed and crushed, and so they had to start all over again when Yavanna grew the trees. Um, so but what this means is because so if this if if this if this is true, if there are still pterodactyls that were like hiding in a mountain somewhere that managed to survive the crash burn of Morgoth as he was thrown down, um, that means that it could be anywhere, any other creatures. Like it could be like T Rex is hiding in the depths of the world, which would be a canon thing that would be possible, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy about it. And now, Des, you gotta let it slide. You gotta let it slide. Just let us have the dinosaurs. There are things to eat. There are things to eat in dinosaurs. There are things to eat in the. Listen, maybe they. Yes, terrorizing the dwarves. Yes, yeah. Well, dwarves are very against dragons in general. So and I would say dragons. Yes, there's listen, they're tiny T-Rexes. They became small T-Rexes. And actually the dwarves tamed them in Moria. They tamed them in Moria. And all the dwarves actually don't ride the dwarves don't ride goats as everyone really likes to think. They actually ride tiny T-Rexes. All of the dragons were dinosaurs. This is I've realized this now. All the dragons were dinosaurs. And like Morgoth, it was Morgoth like taking the remnants of whatever dinosaurs were still left in Middle Earth after he obliterated everything and making dragons out of them. I This must be it. Dwarves also ride. No, that's true. Dwarves should ride triceratopses. He doesn't relate to the word lizard. Well, what if he is though? Checkmate. What if Sauron's a dinosaur? No, he's not cool enough to be a dinosaur. Sauron's not cool enough to be a dinosaur. Unfortunately, apparently his chieftains are cool enough to ride dinosaurs. Big stinky pterodons, which is crazy. This whole thing. Merry Christmas to Antonia, who is having the time of her life, and really that's all we that's all we need. That's all we need. Des has had a very stressful day today because they realized they liked Terry's chocolate orange against all their proclamations, and I'm still very self satisfied about it. They're not reptiles. Dinosaurs are not reptiles. You should know this. Dinosaurs are not reptiles. Dinosaurs are birds. I need another. um, because I have a right. I haven't stopped. I promised I would eventually stop being self-satisfied about it, but it's not now. Not yet. I didn't give you a timeline. um, this is an unofficial break. Um, to eat some of my supper and talk more about dinosaurs. Mm. Let me think. Where else could there be dinosaurs in Middle Earth? Coming up. What was that sigh? Oh, sad boy. Um, um, where else? Well, I think probably if they're surviving anywhere, they would be surviving in. You know that does make sense because elephants are definitely megafauna, aren't they? Like elephants are fully megafauna of the likes at which. That's a good confirmation. Thank you. Um, um, yeah, like the megafauna of elephants are megafauna. So with that in mind, it would most likely be that if you had prehistoric life anywhere, it would be in the Harad Desert, which does make sense in terms of various things. So I'm going to concede that probably there are. I still think there are some dinosaurs in Moria, or there were, and then it got destroyed, and that's why there are no more dinosaurs in Moria. And the dwarves don't have dinosaurs anywhere else, but they did have them in Moria, and they'll find them again when they retake Moria. But um um I'm intrigued. Maybe the standard for the Harrod captain being a serpent on a red field. Maybe it's not a serpent. Maybe it's not like a snake. Maybe it's like a like a giant long dinosaur of some kind. I'm very into this now. The this is the best world building we've ever had. I need to write to Lord of the Rings Online. I need to write to Lord of the Rings Online and show that as a girl, like, look, it's a dinosaur, and look at the thing, it's a dinosaur. Very important. This is the kind of work we need to be doing. Yes, yes. I am going to draw as soon as I can. I'm going to draw the riders, the black riders on pterodons. Oh, they can be like those fucking cool. Like you don't have to do them as Now Sherlock could be like, I mean, she's a megafauna. She's a prehistoric, like spiders never got that big in real life. We're pretty sure, but they definitely got very big before. Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry, Antonia. That is gonna take a while unless copyright law gets redone. It's very annoying. Mm. No, Gandalf is the meteorite that kills all the dinosaurs. I need to stop talking about it. Sorry, I'm eating my supper, but I'm back with you in a second. Isn't it though? Isn't it though? Are you sure? I am sorry to the new dinosaur sheets. That was uncalled for. I didn't know they were in the room. Too adult for delicate dinosaur sheet ears. Well, I hate to say it, but I guess Morgoth being the meteorite that destroyed the dinosaurs does add a certain amount of canon compliance to the idea that Gandalf could also be a meteorite. Fuck. I hate this. Now it's not funny. Now it's no longer funny. I don't want it to be actually even mildly canon compliant. Right. Okay. Mm. Okay. Well, before I continue talking about this, we've got to get back to the book so that you're all saved. Mm. Okay. Well, Gandalf was smaller. He's a little fella. He's just a little fella. Whenever an idea becomes plausibly talking canon-esque, it's true. Where the hell were we? Oh yes. Oh yeah. We're just like fucking sitting here like cackling our heads off. Theoden is actively being killed. He is being crushed under. Snowmane is dead. We just passed over all that. Snowmane is fully dead, and he's crushing Theoden. He's dying. I mean I don't give a shit, but we should be, yeah, good. We you know a little gravitas from us. we're all we're all middlemen of the twilight, every single one of us. Every single one of us, except Honeybee. I'm sorry. We're carrying on. Creature of the old world. Blah, blah, blah. Eerie bred for apt to evil. And the Dark Lord took it and nursed it with many with sorry, focus. And the Dark Lord took it and nursed it with fell meats until it grew beyond the measure of all other things that fly, and he gave it to his servant to be his steed. Down, down it came, and then, folding its fingered webs, it gave a croaking cry and settled upon the body of Snowmane, digging in its claws, stooping its long naked neck. Upon it sat a shape, black mantled. I'm I'm sorry. No, I do want to be nice to you. I do. Fell meats. Fell meats. Which is very no, we've got to keep going. Snowmane is being eaten. He's being eaten as Snowmane. It's a good horse. Upon it sat a shape, black-mantled, huge and threatening. A crown of steel he bore, but beneath rim and robe naught was there to see, save only a deadly gleam of his eyes, the lord of the Nazgul. To the air he had returned, summoning his steed ere the darkness failed, and now he was come again, bringing ruin, turning hope to despair, and victory to death. A great black mace he wielded. But Theoden was not utterly forsaken. The knights of his house lay slain about him, or else mastered by the madness of their steeds were borne far away. Yet one stood there still, Dernhelm the young, faithful beyond fear, and he wept, for he had loved his lord as a father. Right through the charge Merry had been borne unharmed behind him until the shadow came, and then Windfola had thrown them in his terror, and ran wild upon the plain. Merry crawled on all fours like a dazed beast, and such a horror was on him that he was blind and sick. King's man, his heart cried within. You must stay by him. As a father you shall be to me, you said. But his will made no answer, and his body shook. He dared not open his eyes to look up. Then out of the darkness in his mind he thought that he heard Dernhelm speaking. Yet now the voice seemed strange, recalling some other voice that he had known. Begone, foul Dwymelake, lord of Carrion, leave the dead in peace. A cold voice answered. Come not between the Nazgul and his prey. Or, can you hear me when I talk like that? Can you hear me? Is that actually? Can you understand what I'm saying when I talk like that, or should I just talk normally? I can't tell. Okay. Or he will not slay thee in thy turn. He will bear thee away to the houses of lamentation, beyond all darkness, where thy flesh shall be devoured, and thy shrivelled mind be left naked to the lidless eye. Oh, a sword rang as it was drawn. Do what you will, but I will hinder it if I may. Hinder me, thou fool! No living man may hinder me. Then Merry heard of all sounds in that hour the strangest. It seemed that Dernhelm laughed, and the clear voice was like the ring of steel. I am no living man, am I? You look upon a woman. Eowyn I am, Eomen's daughter. You stand between me and my lord and kin. Begone if you be not deathless, for living or dark and dead, I will smite you if you touch him. The winged creature screamed at her, but the ring-wraith made no answer, and was silent, as if in doubt. Very amazement, for a moment, conquered Merry's fear. He opened his eyes, and the blackness was lifted from them. There, some paces from him, sat the great beast, and all seemed dark about it, and above it loomed the Nazgul lord, like a shadow of despair. A little to the left, facing them, stood she whom had called herself Dernhelm. But the helm of her secrecy had fallen from her, and her bright hair, released from its bonds, gleamed with pale gold upon her shoulders. Her eyes, grey as the sea, were hard and fell, and yet tears were on her cheek. A sword was in her hand, and she raised her shield against the horror of the enemy's eyes. Eowyn it was, and Dernhelm also. For into Mary's mind flashed the memory of the face that he saw at the riding from Dunharrow, the face of one that goes seeking death, having no hope. Pity filled his heart and great wonder, and suddenly the slow-kindled courage of his race awoke. He clenched his hand. She should not die, so fair, so desperate. At least she should not die alone, unaided. The face of their enemy was not turned towards him, but still he hardly dared to move, dreading lest the deadly eyes should fall on him. Slowly, slowly he began to crawl aside, but the black captain, in doubt and malice, intent upon the woman before him, heeded him no more than a worm in the mud. Suddenly the great beast beat its hideous wings, and the wind of them was foul. Again it leapt into the air, and then swiftly fell down upon Éowyn, shrieking, striking with beak and claw. She did not blanch, maiden of the Rohirrim, child of kings, slender but as a steel blade, fair yet terrible. A swift stroke she dealt, skilled and deadly. The outstretched neck she clove asunder, and the hewn head fell like a stone. Backward she sprang as the huge shape crashed to ruin. The vast wings outspread, crumpled on the earth, and with its fall the shadow passed away. A light fell about her, and her hair shone in the sunrise. Out of the wreck rose the Black Rider, tall and threatening, towering above her. With a cry of hatred that stung the very ears like venom, he let fall his mace. Her shield was shivered in many pieces, and her arm was broken. She stumbled to her knees. He bent over her like a cloud, and his eyes glittered. He raised his mace to kill. But suddenly he too stumbled forward with a cry of bitter pain, and his stroke went wide, driving into the ground. Merry's sword had stabbed him from behind, shearing through the black mantle and passing up between the hauberk, had pierced the sinew behind his mighty knee. "Éowyn! Éowyn!" cried Merry, then tottering, struggling up, with her last strength she drove her sword between the crown and mantle as the great shoulders bowed before her. The sword broke, sparkling into many shards. The crown rolled away with a clang. Éowyn fell forward upon her fallen foe. But lo, the mantle and hauberk were empty. Shapeless they lay now on the ground, torn and tumbled, and a cry went up into the shuddering air and faded to a shrill wailing, passing with the wind, a voice bodiless and thin that died, and was swallowed up, and never heard again in the age of this world. Oh wait, and never heard again in that age of this world. Huh. But in another age? No, another age. Well, we'll come back to it. And there stood Meriadoc, the hobbit, in the midst of the slain, blinking like an owl in the daylight. For tears blinded him, and though a mist he looked on, and through a mist he looked on Éowyn's fair head, as she lay and did not move, and he looked on the face of the king, fallen in the midst of his glory. For Snowmane in his agony had rolled away from him again, yet he was the bane of his master. When Merry stooped and lifted his hand to kiss it, and lo, Theoden opened his eyes, and they were clear, and he spoke in a voice quiet though laboured. "Farewell, Master Hobbitla," he said. "My body is broken. I go to my fathers, and even in their mighty company I shall not now be ashamed. I felled the black serpent, a grim morn, a glad day, and a golden sunset." Merry could not speak, but wept anew. "Forgive me, Lord," he said at last, "if I broke your command, and yet have done no more in your service than to weep at our parting." The old king smiled. "Grieve not, it is forgiven. Great heart will not be denied. Live now in blessedness, and when you sit in peace with your pipe, think of me, for never shall I sit with you in Meduseld, as I promised, or listen to your herb lore." He closed his eyes, and Merry bowed beside him. Presently he spoke again. "Where is Éomer? My eyes darken, and I would see him ere I go. He must be king after me, and I would send word to Éowyn. She would not have me leave her, and now I shall not see her again, dearer than daughter." "Lord, Lord," began Merry brokenly, "she is But at that moment there was a great clamour, and all about them horns and trumpets were blowing. Merry looked around. He had forgotten the war, and all the world beside, and many hours it seemed since the king rode to his fall, though in truth it was only a little while. But now he saw that they were in danger of being caught in the very midst of the great battle that would soon be joined. New forces of the enemy were hastening up the road from the river, and from under the walls came the legions of Morgul, and from the southward fields came footmen of Harad with horsemen before them, and behind those rose the huge backs of the Mumakil, with war towers upon them. But northward the white crest of Eomer led the great front of the Rohirrim, which he had again gathered and marshalled, and out of the city came all the strength of men that was in it, and the silver swan of Dol Amroth was borne in the van, driving the enemy from the gate. For a moment he thought, for the moment, for a moment, the thought flitted through Mary's mind. Where is Gandalf? Is he not here? Could he not have saved the king and Eowyn? But thereupon Eomer rode up in haste, and with him came the knights of the household that still lived, and had now mastered their horses. They looked in wonder at the carcass of the fell beast that lay there, and their steeds would not go near. But Eomer leapt from the saddle, and grief and dismay fell upon him as he came to the king's side, and stood there in silence. When one of the knights took the king's banner from the hand of Guthlaf, the banner-bearer who lay dead, and he lifted it up. Slowly Theoden opened his eyes. Seeing the banner, he made a sign that it should be given to Eomer. "Hail, King of the Mark," he said. "Ride now to victory. Bid Eowyn farewell." And so he died, and knew not that Eowyn lay near him, and those who stood by wept, crying, "Theoden King, Theoden King!" But Eomer said to them, "Mourn not overmuch. Mighty was the fallen, meeting was his end. Mighty was the fallen, meet was his ending. When his mound is raised, women shall weep. War now calls us." Yet he himself wept as he spoke. Let the knights remain here," he said, "and bear his body in honour from the field, lest the battle ride over it. Yet, and all these other of the king's men that lie here. Yea, and all these other of the king's men that lie here." And he looked at the slain, recalling their names. Then suddenly he beheld his sister, Eowyn, as she lay, and he knew her. He stood a moment as a man who is pierced in the midst of a cry by an arrow through the heart, and then his face went deathly white, and a cold fury rose in him, so that all speech failed him for a while. A fey mood took him. "Eowyn, Eowyn," he cried at last. "Eowyn, how have you come here? What madness or devilry is this? Death, 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 take us all." Then, without taking counsel or waiting for the approach of the men of the city, he spurred headlong back to the front of the great host, and blew a horn, and cried aloud for the onset. Over the field rang his voice clear, calling, "Death, ride, ride to ruin in the world's ending." And with that the host began to move, but the Rohirrim sang no more. "Death," they cried, with one voice, loud and terrible, and gathering speed like a great tide, their battle swept about their fallen king, and passed, roaring away southwards. Antonia! Antonia! It was going to eat her! It was gonna eat her! I'm sorry. Listen, listen. It's not a pterodactyl. It's a weird bad pterodactyl that Sauron made by feeding it fell meats. You can't forget Sauron and his fell meats that he has. I think. Listen, yes, he means the Haradrim chieftain. I promise. Doesn't mean the fell beast. He means the Haradrim chieftain for sure. The fell beast felled him. That was him that the fell beast felled. I guess that's why it's called the fell beast. No, but Antonia, no, honeybee. If Antonia looks like she's about to feed herself to a dinosaur, you have to promise me that you're going to stop her from doing it. And kill that dinosaur if you must. You have to promise. I don't care if it's the loss of its species. Not allowed. Antonia's not allowed to get eaten by by a dinosaur. I said it. And my word is law in this stream and all about. Now, now, um, I think, I think maybe we'll stop there. Perhaps. I think maybe this will be the time where we stop. Um, no, but you're not allowed though. You're not allowed to. I've said what I want to say. I know. Yeah, no, I fully believe she means it. I'm telling you, you have to stop her. You're the only one I trust for this task, honeybee. And it's lucky that you're also nearby. So you have to stop her. You have to. She can't. You have to promise. That's not good enough. You have to promise me. You have to swear on. I'm not sure what on. Shelob. There we go. um, but anyway, preventing the untimely death of my friends aside through dinosaur eating means. I think we'll stop there because that's nice and dramatic, and I'm also trying to be as gentle with myself as possible. And also, I looked ahead. There's a song. There's a song which I need to I need to learn before the next one. So I don't want to. I don't want to. They keep doing this thing where they like put it. They he puts the text in a way that it makes it look like a song, but it just says, or like they just said it. I don't know why it's in that way. Uh, hmm. I mean, I think that's a song, but this is definitely a song. Oh fuck! I have to sing. Oh no, I totally forgot. Um, yes. So we're stopping before I have to read the song. Chant the song again when it is clearly called a song. I'm not doing it this time. I'm gonna sing this song, god damn it. Gonna learn it and sing it. Ah. Oh. There has to be some musical renditions of that for sure. Has to be. But anyway, I think so. Yes, so we're stopping there. Um, and thanks for everyone for coming and and before but and just to be a bit sappy for a moment, considering it is Christmas, well, the day after Christmas. Um, I just wanted to say that like I started these more than a year ago now, and and at the time it really was just I did not expect it to be a project that I managed to continue or even finish. I'm really getting to the point where it does seem like I'm gonna finish it. Um, but I started it out with such a with such a sense of I don't know, I did not expect it to go very far, but the way it has changed my life so significantly is very crazy. Like these few years have been actually quite awful for me. I was very isolated after leaving university, and I did not keep in touch with any of the friends that I had made in university. And my health was really bad for this whole time and still has been. But the streams, and with the streams, meeting so many people in the Discord has really just it's really made a lot of very, very wonderful, positive, loving moments for me out of a couple of years which could otherwise have been nothing but misery. So so and realistically speaking, the only reason for that is that everyone who came and decided that they were going to continue with this journey with me and be waiting for the stream to come every some weeks, and come and listen to me read it, and it's just so it's so heartwarming, and I'm so happy and grateful to the lot of you for deciding to spend so much time with me on this book. and becoming so very dear to me after so long as well. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for continuing this, and we'll get to the end eventually, and then I'm sure Kaz will drag me into another podcast. Um, and I just look forward to knowing you all for many many years to come, I suppose. Um, so yep, that's it. um, yeah, I mean, other people have said this as well. Like at one point or another, Kaz like brought me to tears when he said that, like he was talking about how his whole he wouldn't have started the streams his streams himself if not for me, and so he started his stuff, and then he met other friends through that, and that really affected me. I was really happy to find out that it had such a, I don't know, I just hadn't considered positive effects that I could make whilst whilst being very sick and very lackluster, very bad body to live in kind of situation. But um so yeah. Yeah. Yes, Ragloss, I really do wish I wish I could befriend you in real life. And maybe eventually that will be a thing that that could happen. I certainly intend upon meeting everybody who's in England at the very least, and people in America as well. Uh and so I'll eventually find I'll eventually you can come to England, I'm sure. Or I'll find my way to you somehow. But yes. So, thank you again for coming. This was a surprisingly good stream. This was a surprisingly good stream. I'm especially coming off the bad phone call from uh weird um university stuff. But uh yes. So thank you again, and I will try to get back to the Monday streams. Um and we'll see how we go. Uh I should be. I think I'm getting better. I think we're getting out of the migraine woods. So I'll hopefully see you all not tomorrow, which is Monday, next Monday. And I really do hope you all had a nice Christmas slash winter time holiday thing. Uh so yeah, toodaloo everyone.